Hello, hello, hello. Whoop, whoop. How is everybody doing there out in live streamy land or indeed in video on demand land? I hope you're all well. I am Jay. I do programming things. This is me. Not the world's best picture of me, but it is a picture of me. I need to change this actually because I'm polyglot style programmer, but doesn't matter. That's not what we're here for. Today, I'm going to take it a little bit slower than yesterday. So let's learn a little bit about me. I'm hoping to click the correct ones this time. I'm going to skip over that one. I am the host of 2 current podcasts. There are 3, but we're taking a little bit of a break. So if you want to learn more about .NET things, the Modern .NET Show over at dotnet-core.show is the place to be. We've got loads of episodes about all sorts of stuff, IoT, getting started, accessibility, loads of stuff. Brilliant. Each episode has let's go with this one. It has a summary, so you don't even have to listen to it. It's got a full transcription. You hover over it, it tells you who the person is, which is pretty cool. I also work on the Waffling Tailors with my brother. Hey Carl, how you doing? I hope you're well. So I work on Waffling Tailors as well. I'm known as Jay on here. That's my picture. If you click that, you find out all about me. There's some stuff to do with podcasts or whatever. Just letting people know that I do some podcasts here, Carl. I hope you're well. But yes, so why did I talk about podcasts? Because I'd like to work on this app that I've been working on called .NET-podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this window slightly out of the way so you all can see the actual the chat that's going on. You're taking a bit of a break between jobs and enjoying some time working on my own things. Excellent, Carl. Excellent. That's what I'm doing. I came up with this idea very late one night because I wanted to actually build something that helps me to actually manage my podcasts. So the idea, I didn't go into this last time, but when you record a podcast, you're going to end up with some raw audio or some raw video if you're into video podcasting. I'm into audio podcasting. And each of those raw audio tracks are going to represent the audio from each of the people that were on the show. So if it's me and one guest, that's 2 bits of audio. Carl, it's not, but I will go into that in a moment. So I will answer your question in a moment. So if there's 3 guests and 1 host, that's 4 audio tracks that you need to then archive and send over to your editor. So the idea with this is currently, when I record podcast episodes, I manually do a bunch of file conversion. So I convert all of the audio to FLAC with a certain setup. And then I archive everything in a single zip file and send that over. Now that requires me to remember a couple of very arcane FFmpeg commands. There's nothing wrong with FFmpeg, it's just I wish I could do it all in one line. I probably can if I learn bash stuff, but I want to write a little app. So I'm writing a little app. In answer to Carl's question, at the beginning of every episode of the Modern .NET Show, let me just pull up, dotnet-core.show. Had a moment there where I forgot the URL to my own podcast. So if I go to say this episode here, which was proudly supported by Avalonia XPF, if you're into WPF and want to take it cross-platform, do check those folks out. You'll notice in the transcription, I always say at the end of the intro, so let's sit back, open up a terminal, type in .NET New Podcast, and we'll dive into the core of modern .NET. .NET New Podcast used to be how I would create the show notes for everything. I used to pull up the terminal, so if I go over to my terminal, I used to go .NET New Podcast, and I used to have a global template. We talked about this in the last one. You can do .NET New -- list, and it will list all of the templates that we have installed, right? I used to have a template in here for podcasts. So, and the reason I didn't keep it is because every time that you updated the SDK between the original version of .NET VNext, as it was called, all the way up to .NET Core 3, every time you installed a new version of the SDK, it would forget your installed templates. and so I had to keep doing it, right? So that was a little upsetting, but that's fine. Let me clear off that screen. I'm going to drag this window up a little bit so it's just above the player, the audio player. There we go. It does mean that it's sat on top of the chat, but that's fine. It should disappear in a moment. Ah, yes, as Carl has said, yes, pain. We don't like pain as developers. We tend to like things that are super easy to do. So yeah, we're going to work on this. Now, where we got to last time, if I can show you, we have absolutely no tests, which is not good, but that's totally fine. In fact, if I do the keyboard shortcut for run all the tests, nothing happens because we haven't got any tests. We'll work on that in a moment, right? What we have is we've got, I imagine those early days also had breaking changes. The runtime seems a lot more stable these days. Absolutely, Carl. The runtime is way more stable these days. I've been using .NET, well, what was called .NET Core, but is now just .NET for production for ages. Where are we? Rolling size limit, and we want oh no, not .NET, we want rolling interval. I noticed I didn't do this. That's not quite right. You know what, well, we'll not bother with that just yet. Okay, so yeah, if we scroll through here, we've actually got, what we've got is a .NET console application, right? So something that runs inside the console window, inside that terminal window. And this is suboptimal, but we needed something to work for like seconds, right? We needed it to work to get us over the hump of checking something in. What we've got is we've got logging that starts as soon as we start the app. I think it was, I forget the name of the person. Somebody had said in the chat yesterday about, oh my goodness, I can get it to roll over and put the day in the name of the log file, which they didn't know about, which is awesome. So I helped someone learn something yesterday, which is brilliant. We're going to log as soon as we start. That's why we're using app name there. We're using it in the log and in that first log statement. And then we will do dependency injection later. But what we're doing is we're using a library that is called, if I go out to the README, I've got it listed. We are using a library called command line parser / command line. And this allows us to parse the any args that are passed in. That's what this is. For folks who haven't done .NET before, that's what this is. We're passing in a string array of arguments, and we're able to parse that into some defined types. So I have a verb, which is called create, and inside of my create options, I can add things in here, which we'll do later on. And we're using this. This parser here, which is the CLI parser, which is a dependency. I don't quite like it being in here. We'll move it out in a moment. And what we're doing is when our args can be serialized into a create options, we can add another bunch of things in here. So we can add a foo, and it'll tell me foo doesn't exist, but that's fine, and a bar. And what will happen with this is it will try and parse args into each one of these types here, and whichever one it parses to will then be mapped to one of these results, right? We can have as many of these results as we want. I think we can have up to 7. So I can have up to 7 verbs, which is good, right? And what it'll do is it'll match on one of these, and then if we have a create options, it will put it in this opts, and then for now it does new is glue to create the handler, and then passes it into our method, which will then handle the creation stuff. So if we go in here, nothing happening, we're just saying handle create and return 0, and we'll replace this with dependency injection today. And then all we're doing is we're wrapping everything in a try catch, a really generic try catch, because we're catching all exceptions. Then we're going to log whatever happened. We're going to close and flush the log, and then we're going to return. Currently we're returning -1, but we don't actually have to return anything. I'm going to change this, break the KNRC standard, so we're not actually doing C style operations, because it's fine. I realized my face was in the way then, so you couldn't see return 1. So yeah, the last thing it does after closing and flushing is returning -1, so that's fine. But what we're going to do is, and I've had to make notes today. Usually I just figure it out as I go along, but I've made some notes. Let's have a sip of that for the working person. Right, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some dependency injection, but before we dependency inject, I want to start creating an interface. So I wonder if Ryder can help me with this. create derived type, default constructor. Nope. Oh, refactor. Maybe we can refactor it by creating an interface. Amazing. We'll call it the iCreate handler. We're going to do there. Select everything that is public, and we're going to go wallop. Look at that. Lovely. Right. We're going to need these in a moment, so I'm going to move that. I'm not going to add it to source control. So what we've got now is we now have in a handlers folder. I am going to fix the typing on these folders, the casing on these folders, but for now I'm happy with them being lowercase. I've got an iCreate handler and a create handler which extends iCreate handler or implements iCreate handler. So we'll be at a point in a moment where we can inject this in, but we can also test it and mock it and all that kind of stuff. So we like that. I'm going to do the exact same for error handler. So I'm going to go to the context actions and I'm going to go to refactor and I'm going to say extract an interface. And I'm going to put all the public things in there. We'll put it in its own file this time. Last time I chose same file as the source class. So I'll say its own file this time. And then we'll say cancel because I don't want to add it to source control just yet. Go to the error handler. Bang, look at that. Fantastic. It's doing file scopes and namespaces, which I'm happy with, but we can change that if we need to. So I'm just going to close these little windows here, all of these things. So now we're at a point where we can almost at a point where we can dependency inject some stuff in. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So first thing we need to do, so we need to add a NuGet package. Now let's talk about dependency injection real quick. For those who are watching on demand, or maybe you're in the chat and you're not really wanting to say anything. So dependency injection allows us to, if I have, right, okay, let's talk about it with concrete example. Right here, I've got a direct dependency on using the create handler, right? In order to run the program, I need to have a class called create handler, and I need to know exactly where it is, and I need to add that reference in this file. What I want to do is I want to invert that dependency so that then it's not program that's depending on create handler, right? I want program to depend on an interface called iCreate handler, and then I, as the developer, can decide what that iCreate handler represents, and I can tell the what's called the composition route, which is the very beginning of the app, where to go to get the implementation of that interface. Then it can handle newing things up and setting things up for me. If this iCreate handler had loads of arguments, I'd have to, like, let's say iCreate handler took in some stuff, right? So let's just quickly, I'm going to undo this in a minute, but let's create a constructor that takes in an int foo, a string, bar, an object, foo bar, and maybe, I don't know, a dictionary. Whoops, dictionary. I can't type on this. Dictionary of string to object, bar foo, right? Foo, right? This means that immediately I've broken this code, right? And it also means that I then need to go like one, let's go bar, and then what else did we want? We wanted an object, so I'm just going to pass in a new object. I don't want like this, but I'll just do new, and then dictionary. So then what I'm getting at here is before I can even call create ops, I need to create all of these individual arguments and pass them in. Now this might be a super complicated set of arguments, so what we're going to do is we're going to have .NET figure all of those things out. So if I just undo all of this, let's just step back. I like to Control Z when I undo instead of just hitting delete, because if you Control Z you end up not leaving behind all of your references. So let's just delete all of this. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Right, we will end up with needing to pass in parameters to a constructor, but we'll let .NET figure that out for us. If I go back to program.cs, in order to do dependency injection, I'm going to use the Microsoft provided dependency injection container. There are others, there's like Ninject and all sorts of stuff, but I'm going to use the Microsoft one. So if you bear with me a second, Microsoft dependency injection, extensions, dependency injection. There we go. Now there's loads of different versions. I'm going to use version 8 because it's the latest version that's not in preview. I should be able to do this. Let's have a look. It is dependent on 6, 7 and 8. Brilliant. Okay, I'll tell you why that's important in a moment. We'll come back to that. I'm going to say add this. It's going to say you sure. I'm going to say yep. Do the thing. And it's added it. Now my face is in the way, but it actually says here when my mouse is hovering, Microsoft Dependency Injection version 8 was installed to dotnet.podcast. So if I go over here and I take a look at the CS branch, I may have to start hiding my face in these, but that's fine. So what we've done is we've added Microsoft Extensions Dependency Injection version 8. Now why I needed to check whether it works with 6, 7 and 8 is because this app I'm actually targeting 6, 7 and 8. Now the reason for that is that I want for people who use this app to not have to worry about which version of .NET they've got, as long as they've got one that is currently in support. And I can check that by going back to my browser and go to get.dot.net, which I think is a bit of a silly URL, but it's fine. It's cool. It does what we need it to do. Right. So we can see this is where we go get .NET, but actually if I go all .NET versions, we can actually see that currently at the time of recording this video on the 19th of March at 15:02, 6, 7 and 8 are currently supported, with 9 having hit preview 2. So at the moment, anyone who's running a supported version of .NET, not .NET Framework, .NET can run this app. And the way that works, just to give you all a quick refresher on that in case you didn't know, is if I go over to my files, which I have over here, and I go to source, .NET-podcast, bin, debug. What's happening is it's building 3 separate versions of the app, one for .NET 6, one for .NET 7, and one for .NET 8. When I ship this, what should happen, because I'm going to ship it as a NuGet package, is it will include all the different versions, and when you install it, it will then install only the version that you want, which is pretty cool. So if you've got .NET 7 and you install this, it'll go, hey, there's a .NET 7 version of this in this NuGet package. I'll install that. Okay, so that's pretty cool. We're going to leave the CS project for now. Right, so we've got a create handler which implements an iCreate handler, right? So what we need to do is we need to then create some dependency injection. Now I've actually had to write the steps down ahead of time because I always forget this bit. Because you see, this bit is wired up for us in ASP.NET, but not in .NET for the console. Now, the other thing to consider with this is that maybe we don't need dependency injection because this app is going to start up, run once, do some stuff, then immediately drop out, right? So the lifetime of a console app is we hit public static void main, we're going to deal with whatever arguments we've got, then we're immediately going to drop out. So maybe we don't need dependency injection, but I like to use dependency injection because it means that I can use best practices for things like testing, right, and mocking and things like that. So first thing we need to do is we need to make sure we've got the logger. That's what this is. So we're saying, hey, go create the logger. We're going to write to the console, write to the path. We're going to give it a name and we want it a new log every day. Go create my logger. Then we're going to say, hey, we've started. We're going to use these arguments, right? Before we've actually got there, what I want to start setting up my what's called a service container. This is just a container that will hold our services, right? Different programming languages and frameworks call it different things. I like to call it a service container. In the Microsoft dependency injection stuff, it's actually called a service collection, but we can call it whatever we want. So I'm going to go var, and I'm going to say sp. I don't know why I call it sc. We'll call it sc equals. We're going to say new service collection. Service collection, nice. Okay, so now we've got our service collection, right? We're going to call it SC, but actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to call it services. Cool. Then I'm going to say dot add, we're going to say add a singleton, add a scoped. We'll go with scoped. Add a scoped iCreate handler maps to create handler. Why didn't it like that? Oh, it's the other way around. Sorry. Create handler maps to I create handler. I create. Nope, it really doesn't like that. What is that about? To add. Let's try a transient first. Ah, right. Do that. Thank you. I create handler goes to create handler. Thank you very much. Right. So what that means, and then we need to do build service provider. Nice. So now our SP is our service provider. What this means, there are 3 scopes in the Microsoft Dependency Injection provider. There's add transient, there's add scoped. I'll just do the same thing again. It's not going to like it. If we run this, it won't like it. It likes it at build time. So then we've got add singleton. Right. I create handler, create handler. Now, okay, so there's 3 different types of scopes. Now, the scopes are designed such that the dependency injection container will new something up for you and inject any other dependencies when you at the time that it is needed. So, a add transient means when at the moment that I ask for one of these, not beforehand, at the moment that I ask for one of these, give me it, but then the moment that I'm done with it, delete it. So every single time it has to create a brand new one. Add scoped is very similar, but not exactly the same. Does a similar sort of thing, but then it is scoped to that one use. Add singleton means create one right now and keep it around forever or until the app closes or crashes. Right? I'm happy with scoped for my I create handler. Actually, what I want is I want an add singleton. That's better. Because I only want to create one, right? The app's only ever going to live once. What's going to happen is even if I put in, no matter how many times I run it, it's only ever going to create the one. So I'm fine with that. Then we want to do add logging, I think. I'll consult my notes in a moment, but that's fine. Right, so we've done that. So what I want to do is I want to log.information, setting up service collection. All of these logs are way too much, right? But I've found that it's often easier to do way too much logging than not enough. Not planning on running multiple versions of a console app at the same time will add singleton persist across multiple instances. So it's not possible to run multiple versions of this app at the same time. Well, okay, it is possible to run multiple versions, right? But unlike in a web context, we want, so let's see. The dependency injection stuff is usually wired up for ASP.NET Core, because ASP.NET Core starts, it hits the program main, it starts, it then goes and does MVC or Blazor or whatever, and stays in memory, right? Literally what's going to happen with this is we're going to deal with parsing whatever args we've got, and then immediately drop out, right? So even if we're running 2 at the same time, they're 2 separate instances of the app. And so with those 2 separate instances comes 2 separate memory sets. So if we run it once and get a singleton for iCreateHandler and then run it again for a singleton with iCreateHandler, it's a completely different set of singletons, right? So there's going to be no crossover, right? And I'm happy with those being singletons because it means I don't have to manage anything. So hopefully that helps. The singleton will persist so that the instance of the singleton won't persist across different instances, right? So we should be okay. So what we actually need to do first, so hopefully that answers your question, Carl, and you notice that we're newing things up, right? We don't want to new things up. We're also going to do add transient. I wrote it down. Why did I write that? Oh, no, we're adding transient for something else. Add singleton. Yep. I error handler to error handler. Whoops, not error handler. Excellent. And I'll show you why I do that in a second. And then what we want to do is we want to do var. Do we want the parser? Create equals services.getService. This is a really weird way of doing things. We'll make this better in a minute. Create handler, fantastic. And then we'll do it if create is null. Correct. Instead of we'll do log.fatal. Log.fatal? No. We're going to throw an exception. We'll create a new exception type for this. Okay. So, to do create new exception type. Exception? Yeah, that looks. Exception. Yes. Exception type. Okay. Throw a new exception with the message couldn't instantiate instance. Oh gosh. Of. Then we'll put this the $sign at the beginning, so this becomes an interpolated string of can't create an instance of I create handler. Cool. Instantiate. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So if we can't get the creator back out of the service builder, we'll throw an exception. And then what we do here is we replace this new, because new is glue, with create. This does look a bit weird because, like, why are you doing that, Jamie? But that's because we're going to actually put another level between our handler and the actual app in a moment. But we'll deal with that in a moment. I just want to build things up slowly, right? So then we're going to go for error equals services dot get service of type I error handler. So if there's anyone watching live or in the on demand who doesn't know what this is, what these angle brackets means, that means of type. So I'm saying get me one of these, right? Get me a service. I don't need to pass you any arguments, just find me something that matches this, right? So I'm going to say if error is null. Absolutely love the is, it's brilliant. Copy paste this code just because. Get rid of that hash there because I don't need it. I error handler, excellent. And then we'll just do error handler here. Now I don't need to do these if checks, but if I don't do them, Ryder's going to complain, hey, that could possibly be null. So we may as well do them, keep Ryder happy. So then if I can actually get rid of this to do, because we're good to go. Hit build on that. Want to make sure it builds. It does. I'm going to show you it running. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to go do create, right? That's my only verb so far. So like I said before, what this app is doing is it takes in the list of arguments, which are provided just as space delimited strings. It's a space delimited string array. So any strings that come after the app name, it's then going to try and parse it into a create options. If it can, it will run this. If it can't, it will run errors. We're going to add some more in a moment, but that's fine. I'm going to do this, so then that's a little bit easier to read. So if we can create a create ops, call that. If we can't, call errors, right? And that's what we're about to do. So if I just do this just to make sure, I've put the verb create in there. So I'm going to put my breakpoint, I don't know, we'll do it here. That's fine, right? And then we'll run it. So this is going to run the app and pass in the word create as a and that's going to be interpreted as a verb. You can see it here, look. If I go back to the console, you can see it's starting my app and passing in the verb create, right? So we're going to do some logging, fantastic. So we can see that logging there. I'm going to move my face out of the way, which requires me to move my mouse. Let's move that over there for now. Hopefully my face will stay out of the way now. So let's move that. Okay, so you can see it's starting to log some stuff. We're going to say setting up service collection. Now we will add tests in for this at a later stage, but because the app is so small, I'm happy with doing manual testing. So go do the service provider. Service collection is done. Can we get a create handler? Excellent. So we jump over that. Can we get an error handler? It's not null. Okay, yep, brilliant. We're going to do some, so we're going to parse using args create. Fantastic. We're going to jump into here. We're going to say, what's args? Args is a single string. I'm going to do F11 so we can see what's happening. I should have done F10 there and stepped over. That's fine. Right, cool. Where are we now? Step over that. Oh, right. That was no good. Let's carry on and go back around. Sorry about that, everyone. So, we want to get into here. Let's make sure that we can get to there still, right? So, cool. Let's just jump down to where we're doing the parsing. We know that the logging and the service collection stuff works. Step over all of that. Step over that. Fantastic. So we found ourselves in handle create. We've got given an options class, which is currently empty. It has no properties. And all we're doing is we're saying, hey, we're going to handle this create. So if I go back to console, handle create, which didn't work. That's fine. We'll fix that in a moment. And we're going to return 0. Fantastic. What we're doing is we're passing that 0 back from here to that return. Oh gosh. F10. Brilliant. Back here, which then drops to our finally. We close and flush the logs. We're good to go. And then we're out of the app. We're already returning 0 from here. That's why we stepped over that return -1. Fantastic. Still works. Amazing. Right. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out why that logging didn't work. But we'll figure that out in a moment. It is very important to make sure our logging works. I'm just referring to my notes. That's fine. So, what I want to do is we'll make the logging work, but we need to add a new dependency. So we're going to go to dependency, add a new serilog thing. So serilog, spell it correctly, serilog dot. Now this is going to be the one that's confusing. I'm going to do ASP.NET Core. And I'm going to add the latest non-preview version. I'm going to scroll back up through this list. Close that. It still works. .NET 6. Fantastic. Add that. This should work. It should just install nicely. Hey, there we go. .NET Podcast. Excellent. So, what we should be able to do now is I should be able to go .add logging. Like that. Cool. And then I can, right, so we're saying add logging, but now I'm going to say config apparently, conf. So the logging builder takes in some configuration. It would help if I could spell, and I'm going to say add serilog. So now we should now have serilog everywhere, which is fantastic. But that also means that my create handler, instead of creating a new logger for context, we should be able to do this. And we should actually be able to go ilogger for create handler. Create handler, like that. Oh, what doesn't it like about that? Missing references. Okay, fair enough. Pull that in. And then we should now be able to go logger.log. Information. And do that. And now our logger should now work. I will get rid of that serilog. Fantastic. So what we'll do, leave that breakpoint in there, and we'll run this again. Put the breakpoint over here. We should now get that logging again. We'll find out. If it doesn't work, then we'll figure out why. This is the great thing about programming, right? Why doesn't it work? That should have worked. Right. So we'll go back to our console. It didn't work. Interesting. Why didn't that work? That should have worked. Oh well. We'll figure it out later, right? We've kind of got it working. Doesn't matter. It's not something that's super duper important. Right. So currently our program.cs takes a direct dependency on this command line parsing stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and create our own little parser, which just wraps around the command line, right? So parser, I'm going to call it custom parser. Now the reason for this is just so that then if I need to do if I need to type 14, if I need to do anything else, then I can totally just do that, and I can inject this into when I'm testing out. I can inject it if I want, or I can mock it, or if I need to then change the command line parser, I don't need to change it here. I can change it here and everything will be the same. So what I want to do is I want to make a public how are we currently doing it? We said int parse command parser.parse. Yeah. Taking a string array of args. Fantastic. And then before I do anything, extract that out to a interface, into an interface. Everything that's public into its own file. Go. Don't add it to source control. So first off, we're just going to return 0 and make it happy. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're actually just going to strip this out. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it here. And it'd be like, why are you placing this here? I don't know what any of this is. But we also need to do a private read-only I custom parser. No, not custom parser. I create handler. And we're going to call it create handler. Handler. There we go. Like that. Then I'm going to say, hey, initialize that. And I've called it create handler. That's not good. Oh, gosh. Why can't I control R and rename? I bet it wants F2. Yeah. Okay, so I need to mess about with my... Do you know what? I'll just do it this way. It's fine. Create handler, create handler, create handler, create handler. That's quicker. Right. It's not quicker, right? Then I could do this. Cool. That's happy. Yep, pull in the command line. That's fine. Pull in my options. That's also fine. Error it's complaining about, but we'll figure that in a moment, because all we need to do is we need to fix that. So we need to say private. Now you might be wondering why I'm doing this. I'll explain it again in a minute. Error handler, and then inject that. Fantastic. And we'll go error handler. So for those who wanted to know what I did there, I did control dot when I selected this and said inject it in, pass it in through the constructor here. Right, so it just passes it in for me. It does that little bit of busy work for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here. And we're actually going to say add a singleton for I custom parser to custom parser. Fantastic. Then we're actually going to get rid of this, and we're going to rename this to I custom parser. We're going to call this parser. Right, cool. We need to change the I create handler to I custom parser. We'll also create a new exception type for that in a moment. And then this actually here, we're actually just going to go parser. Whoops. Parser.parse args. Right, and we do a return there. So the reason that we've done this, excuse me. So the reason we've done this is so that then program.cs only deals with setting up our login and setting up our services. It doesn't actually need a reference to any of these things. It does need the handlers because it's adding our services, but that's fine. It just does set up my login, set up my services, go find my service, and then go run that service, right? So that way, if we need to swap the way that the arguments are parsed and dealt with, we do it here rather than here. And then that means that we're protected. We're protecting our program.cs, our composition root, our application entry space from any of those changes. We've inverted that dependency. Program.cs did originally depend on our command line stuff. That where are we? If I go back over here, it did originally depend on command line parser command line, but actually now it just depends on it depends on our instance called custom parser, which just has this one method which just says go parse the thing and figure out. So then it's custom parser's job to figure out how to deal with these handlers and how to create them. Makes it a little bit easier to swap things out as we travel down the dependency chain. So that's pretty cool. We're almost there at this point. What I want to do is I want to create a custom exception. So I'm going to go ahead and create a custom exception. I'm going to call it public class application exception, and we're going to extend system.exception. Cool. We don't need the dot system. That's totally fine. That's fine. And then I think I can go like this. There was a way to actually just inject the, doesn't matter, public, there we go. Public override data message help equals, nope, okay, fair enough. So what we want is we want public, what does it look like? What does a C# exception look like? Let's have a look. Yeah, go to system.exception, because there's like some constructors that we need to, yeah, that's fine. I'm saying I totally agree that we're okay with overriding this. So where are the constructors? There's some standard constructors that it wants. We don't want to serialize because nobody uses that. And if you're serializing an exception, you're kind of doing it wrong. Public exception, string message, that's the one. And an inner exception. So we want to override those two. So what we do is we go ctor, right? We want string message. And all we need to do here is call base and pass in the message. What's wrong with that? Right, hang on. There we go. And then the other one we want is ctor with a string message, whoops, and an exception, inner exception. So you might be wondering, why am I not doing all of the other exception types? And I'll tell you why in a moment. Message, exception. Nope, inner exception. There we go. Right. So it used to be, let me just put these on a new line so it's easier to read. It used to be that people would go through their exception types and do like, okay, we need the other exception that has like a serialization context. Where is it? Let's go here again. Yep, go there, that's fine. Serialization context. Where is it? Serialization, blah, blah, blah. Buckets. Serialization info and a serialization context. Right. So the standard wisdom is override this method here. Right? Or override a constructor that takes in serialization info and context. Where actually, you don't need to. And you never have. The serialization context is only really useful if you are serializing the exception to XML. And everyone's going to go, but you can still do that in JSON.net and Newtonsoft.json. And my response is, you actually can't. You think you can, but you actually can't. It's not actually possible. JSON.net never supported this kind of serialization. So all of the .NET devs who are very long in the tooth have lots of experience of building out these just like by default overriding this exception constructor, and then it sits in the code never used. Then you've got lines of code that are not used because they wanted to overload that to provide that serialization context that they're never going to use. Maybe they did back in the day when they first started doing .NET when everything was XML, but now that everything is JSON, doesn't need to be done. So what we're going to do, I created that so that way we can do this, right? Then it's no longer a generic exception, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move this to its own file, and I'm going to say no thank you, and I'm going to add some documentation here. Represents an exception, which an exception from within the application. That's the worst documentation ever. And actually, at the moment, I don't need the default constructor because it will create one for me. It will just call the underlying default constructor. And I currently don't need the inner exception one, but we may need that later when we're doing some stuff. So I'll keep it around for now. And some developers are screaming at me now saying you shouldn't keep around code that you don't need just because you might need it in the future. And you're absolutely right. But I know from my own experimentation, we will need this eventually, but we don't need it now. Okay, so I've been going for 44 minutes. What I want to do is I want to take a moment to tell you about the music we're listening to, because it is pretty dang cool. So if I go to, this is all Chill Hop, which is brilliant. I'm a huge fan of these folks. They're not sponsoring this. I love this music, and this is the music that I use whenever I'm studying or when I want to get some deep work done, or if I just want to sit, put the headphones on, disconnect from the world. In fact, the flights to and from MVP Summit, which as of recording happened last week, I had Chill Hop playing, and I also had some music by a chap called Nujabez playing. This stuff is brilliant. The stuff that I really like about Chill Hop is that they release these essentials packs for each of the seasons that we go through. And the current new one, as of like a few days ago, is Chill Hop Essentials Spring, right? Which is what we're listening to right now. And what's great about all of this is if I scroll down, you get like wallpapers and all sorts of stuff. There's a YouTube version of it, right? There is actually, well, how do I buy it? I could buy it physically, but what about digitally? Look at that slip mat and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's go back. Let's go shop, right? That's probably the best place to go. There we go. Nope. Where is it? Ah, there we go. So if we scroll down to, no, not Discord, no, not YouTube, not Spotify, although do go listen to it on Spotify. If you go to their Bandcamp page, we'll zoom in a little bit. Chill Hop Essentials Spring is €1 or more. You can supply your own tell them how much you want to pay for it, right? Which, yes, if you buy the rest of their stuff, it's €181 or euro, sorry. But all of this, 28 tracks, which would be it says 2 times LP, right? How cool? 73 minutes for €1, right? And what I really love about these folks is if you scroll down to their other essentials for the season, that's €1 too. All of the seasonal essentials are cost a single €1. But like the way that they make most of their money is that the albums between them, so like the Ward Willis side B, €4. So even then, it's not that expensive. So you should definitely check this out. Anyway, I'm going to close these. We'll get back to it. Right, so we've got our things we're injecting in. We're checking our parser, and we're just parsing the stuff, right? I'm actually going to change the fingerprint of this so this becomes async task, and then it's gonna really not like this. So we're gonna await first. Oh, await. There we go. Parse arguments async. That should be a little bit happier now. Is there not a parse arguments here? Parse arg. Oh, okay. We'll come back to that. I'll figure that out in a moment. I think I wrote it down somewhere, but that's fine. Come back out of here. Right. Before we do any of that, let's go have a look at the way that this command line options works and see about if there's an async version. So let's go async. So there is async await. That's fine. Verbs. Okay, let's scroll back up. Maybe there's like a wiki. C# demo source here. Okay, fair enough. Program.cs. Func. Oh wow, there's all sorts of ways to do this. Parse arguments. We will need to do this asynchronously at some point, but I can't remember how we do it. From format, default verb commands. You know what I'm going to do? Command line parser. Where is the name of it? It's called command line. So .NET command line async. We're going to go parse async, and I'm going to spell it correctly. Map result usage with async methods. Here we go. Parse arguments. You can use await. Oh, so you were waiting SAR? Oh, no, it doesn't work. Okay. Command line parser, parse arguments. Await that. Create a task. Parse arguments, map results, methods. Issue that works fine. T result. Oh. Map result returns a T result. There is a way to do it, and I can't remember. How I did it. It wasn't with task.run or anything like that. Do we need to await and then pass the async in? Oh, that feels a bit naughty, but let's see if that's how we do it. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. There's lots other I'm saying we'll figure out later, because what we need to do now is we need to actually create something, right? So all we've done so far is like log. We'll figure out why that log doesn't work. Get rid of that to do. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually we're going to handle creation. So let's see our options, create options. So we want a public bool file, create file, public string file name. Haha, that's what we want. And then that's going to be like, hey, you told me it needs to be a string, but it could be nullable. And then I'm going to go verb, so it is a option. And we're going to say it has a short name, or a long name. Okay, file name, and a short name of f. Ah, I see, it swapped them around now. File name, f. Cool. We're going to say required. Is there a required? What options do you want here? What don't you like about that? Oh, it needs to be a char. Is that it? Happy. Right, here we go. What's next? Help text. Help text. Required equals true. We need that. And then we're going to help. No, not default. We're going to help text. Okay. Let's put these on separate lines so you can see what they are. But I'll explain what this is in a moment. Okay. Help text. The target file name for our podcast project. Cool. It's complaining because it's file name. That's fine. What is it saying? It is okay. Go back to capital one. There we go. Initialize property constructor. No. Change it to string. Nope. Suppress nullable with the null initializer. Fantastic. So it's going to be null. That's not really going to work, but it doesn't really matter. I don't need to make it abstract. So what this does is, in our options, we can see that we have a verb called create. Whoops. There we go. And with a help text that reads used to create a podcast project file. So if I change this, this is what's really cool about the command line parser, right? I'm going to throw in breakpoint here. So I've just changed this so that then we're passing in -h, right? And the idea with this library is it's designed to map to Unix-like stuff, right? So if I hit F11 on there, then goes to the console, -h, it says, hey. Okay, so I broke that, but that doesn't matter. It's saying that -f and -- file name are required, and it's the source name for the target of the project file. Maybe I do -h. Help. Maybe it's that way. It's been a while. So let's do this. I'll move that breakpoint there. And we can see it in there. There we go. So it knows that we can do file name, we can do help, and we can get the version number. Why is it saying file name? That shouldn't be. That should be on the verb create. Interesting. Create. I think it's because we've only got one verb. Hey, Devin! It doesn't really matter. That's like 90% of the things that developers argue about. Absolutely. Right? Why argue? Why argue? There's no point in arguing. So now it's saying, because we're passing in create, it's saying, hey, yo, doofus, you didn't pass in an F or file name. I've been told that it is required and you haven't passed it. So why don't you pass it? So why don't we do that? That way we can stop calling everyone doofus. F, and we'll say Jamie project.json. I'm going to hit OK on that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to parse. I'm going to go over to our create handler. And I'm going to hit a breakpoint there. So let's see what's happening. So we can see from this console we've passed in -f and then the string Jamie Project JSON, right? If we go to this options, we should now have a string which has, you can't see it that easily, Jamie Project JSON. Amazing. So what we need to do now, excuse me, what we need to do now is actually go ahead and create a file on disk. Now we could just go file.whatever and dump the file to disk. Brilliant. Like file.write all bytes or whatever, right? Brilliant. Not a problem. Problem is that's not testable, because then we need to then mock the system.file.io and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do instead, I've written it down here, is we're going to use this wonderful package, which is already listed in the README for the project, system.io.abstractions. If you're not using this and you're doing IO, you really should be using this, because what's that? Ah, cool. NuGet package manager, package reference. This is what I really like about NuGet. They're just trying to make things so easy to use, right? All these different ways to add this package. Anyway, from .NET 6 onwards, we can use system.io.abstractions, and we want to target, whoops, I tried to open that as a URL because I wasn't paying attention. We want to target version 21.02, which is current v latest. So why don't we do that? So let me just move my face out of the way, because otherwise, there we go. Don't need to move my face out of the way. It's a lovely face. Anyway, system.io.abstractions. Now, there's two different ways of adding this. So system.io.abstractions works, but then someone's going to read the code listing and it'll say using system.io, and it's not going to make sense. So I like to use the testable IO system IO abstractions, just because there's that extra level of namespaces, so then you don't have to worry about confusing everyone. Cool. Right, now, why am I doing this? It will make it easier to test later. We will be doing some testing in a minute. So first thing we need to do, add transient iFileSystem from, I think I could do that one. Yeah, iFileSystem, yep, because there's two now. So there, in there, goes to file system. And it's going to be like, where does that exist? So we do new file system then. Maybe new file system? No, we don't want to do new. What am I doing here? I've brought up millions of different windows. So, to file system. We don't want the Visual Basic one. We want system.io file system. io. Thanks. Get rid of that. File system. Bear with me a second, folks. Right. .NET DI file system. File system with version control, blah, 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 blah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explicitly call out the person who gives us the correct answer here. File system is blah, blah, blah. That's using the abstraction. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go system.io.abstractions. I'm going to have to go to Google, because otherwise Firefox would think that that is a web address. Let's see. So, new file system, blah, blah, blah. System.abstractions.file system. In your test code, you use that. Cool. So, why don't we say we want one of those? It's like, well, I don't know where that is. Well, why don't you inject it? System.io abstractions. Okay. We'll keep reading. Testable IO abstractions. This is going to take me to the releases page. So, that's fun. Really, what I should have done is read through this, right? Because this will tell me what to do. Oh well. That's the test helpers. Those we'll do that in a minute. Mock support, in case you want to mock it. In Firefox, can't you replace the search with question mark? It overrides normal checks and executes an explicit search against you. Oh, I did not know that, Devin. Wow. Tip of the stream. My goodness. That's brilliant. Maybe it's in the extensions, because I do remember that I used extensions before. There's a new current directory extension. No, that's not what we want, but that's fine. What we'll do, just scroll up nice and slow so I'm not blinding everybody by flashing loads of text on screen. Just do a new file system, and I will let... Oh, there's a wrappers. Oh, maybe I should have added that one. Testable. No, that's the one I added, right? Dependencies. Yeah. Packages. Not very useful. Oh, that's the one we want. We'll add that one too. So we've got the abstractions. Let's get the abstraction wrappers as well. Okay. Oh, it likes it now. There we go. Add transient file system. So we want a transient one so that every single time we ask for a file system, we get a new one. Really doesn't matter because we're only ever going to do one thing, right? But then what we can do here is we can go private. Yes, P brackets. That's what I wanted. Private read-only file system. File system. Excellent stuff. Let's put these on their own little lines because I like to do that. Now, why am I doing this? I've done it in the wrong place. That's why I shouldn't be doing it. My goodness. Let's just undo all of this. Nonsense. I'll put it in my browser, not the place where I wanted it. So let's get rid of that. The create handler. Right. What we wanted is we wanted a private read-only file system. No, not an iFile. Only iFile system. Excellent. File system. Excellent. Inject that in. Fantastic. So why are we doing this, right? We're doing this because in this method, we're going to actually write something out to the file system. But what we want to be able to do is write it out to the file system and to be able to test it. We'll come on to that in a moment. So why don't we start doing that, right? So we're going to go file system dot file dot where are we? Write all lines. Oh, write all text. Write all text. Cool. So then what do we want? We want a path. So we want a file. I don't know. And then we're just going to write some contents, right? Cool. That'll do. That gets us to the point where we can write a file. But what we want to do is we want to be able to test that. So I just need to move my face out of the way again. Let's move me down here for now. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to create using the wrong mouse pointer. Sorry everyone, I've got this one mouse and it's set up both on the desktop, the laptop that I'm deving on and the desktop that I'm streaming with. So you'll have to bear with me. Right, so we want a new project. We want a test unit. I use XUnit, but you can use whatever you want. And I'm going to call this dotnet-podcast.tests. We're going to target .NET 8, that's fine. Cool. Framework, that's fine. We're going to multi-target in a moment, but that's fine. Do that. Fantastic. It goes and creates it. So then we're going to let it do its thing. I'm actually going to organize it on disk as well. So I got a feeling it dumped it in the wrong place. I keep doing this. I keep closing stuff. Go to files, other locations, drive, code, podcast. Yeah, let's put it there. We don't want it there. We don't want it there. Keep this open. What I should have done, let's actually do this properly. Edit, delete. And it'll say, do you want to delete it from file? Yep. Cool. So we'll add a new thing. We'll do it properly this time. Add a new project. Cool. Tests. There we go. I'm going to call it .net.podcast.tests. Target 8 for now. We're going to use XUnit. We're going to say create. Then if we go back over here, there's a folder called tests. Excellent. That's how I like to organize it. I'm going to say create a new solution folder, tests. Drag and drop. Just because I like to hide stuff away. Fantastic. Then we're going to add a dependency on oh, it's in dependencies. And then we're going to reference .NET-podcast. Fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to create a a test for the create handler, the handle create method, right? So we're going to go call this create handle tests. Cool. I'm going to leave that as test one. I'm going to say my arrange is var handler equals new create handler. That's the one. It's now going to complain because we haven't got the I file system, right? Yeah, okay, so we need to log and to create the file system. So what we need is var logger mocked logger is equal to substitute that looks about right for, and then it's gonna be like, I don't know how to do that, so that's fine. We're gonna go with n substitute. We're gonna go with the latest version that's available. Excellent. It's gonna do its thing. Then this will light up with a underline, and I can say yes, add n substitute. Fantastic. I logger of create handler. Fantastic. Not a nullable one. Oh gosh, got too many characters here. Let's have a look. What's the problem? Cool. So then we can pass in the mock logger. Fantastic. That's happy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get some file system stuff. So we're going to go var mocked file system. You can do a whole bunch of stuff like this, but I'm going to go. I need to add a reference to. I'm going to need these two references, so I may as well just go over here and grab them. Edit the CS proj. Those ones. And we'll get the testable packages too. So we've got edit CS proj. What? Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Ha ha ha. CS proj. We're going to add some stuff. Excellent. We also need to, while I'm here, target frameworks. Copy this. 7 and 6. That way we're testing all the things. What doesn't it like? Restore doesn't happen. Why didn't it like that? It only didn't like it when I did this. There we go. Because Ryder tried to help out by putting an extra S in there. Right, what's the problem now? Right, cool. So we've got that. We also need the testing helpers. Sorry, I wrote it down. Testing helpers. It's going to be like testing helpers. Fantastic. Add that to our testing project. Mocked file system. Nope, I've typed that wrong. So let's go have a look what it says in Firefox. Blah, blah, blah. Excellent. Validate some stuff. Here we go. Mock file system, not mocked. There we go. So add a new mock file system. Oh, what's that? It's one of those. Cool. So what this represents, this mock file system, allows us to represent what we want on disk to be in, what we want disk to look like, but in memory, right? So we need to provide a new dictionary. Is it a new dictionary? Yep, a new dictionary of string. Dictionary string to mock file data. Now, I apologize, it's going off the side of the screen here, so let's collapse that. So what this is the path. So the first item in the string is the path, the file path, and the second item in the string is going to be the data you want to be present on disk when you do that. Now, the one thing that I'll point out is the mock file system only has support for reading, not for writing. So we'll need to fix that in a moment, which means we'll need to, what we're going to do first is we're going to build a, if it already exists, don't overwrite it by default. So we're going to say for the path file.json, file.john, we want to create a new mocked file data, and we need some contents there. All right, don't really matter what the contents are. These are some file contents. This string is a file content. This string represents content of a file. There we go. We got there in the end. So this means that any time in create handler we call any time that we create anything on the file system, it will look in this dictionary and see if that file exists, right? Cool. So then we're going to go file options equals new create options. Create options. Oh goodness. Because y'all are all looking. Would you mind not looking for a moment? It's alright, just being silly. Right, so we're going to go, it doesn't have, yeah, file, whoops, gosh, file name, we're going to call it file.json, and we're going to hit the semicolon there, excellent. We're actually going to go const string file name, target file name, target file, whoops, name equals file.json, just to cover up some stuff so that we're not using magic strings everywhere. Yes, I know I caught the comma, that's fine. Target file name, whoops, excellent. The file name is target file name. Get rid of this extra bracket that we don't need. Bring this onto one line because we may as well. Excellent. So that's my arrange. I've arranged some stuff. We're going to go act. So then we're going to go handle create, and we pass in the options. This is currently needs a response, so we're going to return a response, and then what we're going to assert we don't know yet. Okay, so what we're going to do here is first off we'll just assert that response is 0. So assert dot equals, is it expected then? Yeah, 0 and response. Excellent. So we can run this test now. We can't run the test because it's set up with the wrong key bindings. So let's go change that. Key maps and consoles. Holy moly. IntelliJ IDE browser. This just, man. I feel like I've set the wrong kind of key maps here. Key map. Right, not IntelliJ. Let's try, let's have a look at what this is. So let's do test. Profile all tests. What is that set to? No, edit? No. I want to see what it does. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, let's hit save on that. UK. Hey, there we go. We got it to run the tests. So you can see it's hidden by the music there, and it's also hidden by my face. So let's move my face out of the way. Yep. Okay. And then we'll switch back to the other mouse. Cool. So we can see that all our tests are passed. We've technically ran 3 tests. And if I move Rider out of the way, you can see that we're 28% coverage. Well, actually, we've got all these tests that are covered, right? And that's no good. We can actually hide that from the test coverage, which we'll do in a moment. And because what we're doing, I don't really like this covered, uncovered statements line, so I always like to get rid of that one. Can I not? Oh, well, doesn't matter. Right. We'll drag that out. There we go. So we can see here for .NET 6, we've called handlers, create handler is 100% covered. Woo! All we're doing is we're testing that it returns 0. Fantastic. But that's not what we want. We do want that. But what we want to do is we also want to move my face out of the way again. So I'm going to move me down to here. So I am proper out of the way. Yeah, this bottom corner here. That'll do. I wonder if my face actually moved as I was dragging it around there. So handling create. No, we don't want to change that. We want to say creating project file with name. File name, and then we're going to go options dot file name. Cool. I don't need the dollar there. Fantastic. Structured login for the win. If file system dot file dot exists. Whoops. If that exists, opt dot file name. If it already exists, and right, we've got our first extra thing here. So we're going to go public bool overwrite. We're going to get set. That's going to default to false for us because it's a value type. I've misspelt it. Overweight, overwrite. That's an option. Excuse me. We're going to go O. We're going to go overwrite. Required is false. And we're going to say help text. Can't think of the right way to say it, but we'll figure that out in a moment. Let's get rid of that and that and that. Cool. Used to enforce an overwrite. Used to force over. Yeah, force overwrite. If the file name is already in use. That will do. And I've misspelled overwrite again. That'll do. It's not the greatest, but it will do. And we'll say if the file exists. That's cool. We're going to say log file already exists. Checking checking value of overwrite field, and then we're going to put in name of opt dot overwrite. So that makes that harder for y'all to see. There we go. That way, if I rename this, like Control R rename it, like that, it'll just happily change. Cool. If file system dot file dot none of that. Opt dot overwrite. If we set to overwrite, logger dot log overwrite true. No, actually, we don't want to do that. We want to say no, because we're heading in the negative direction. Logger.log information. Do this. Do this. Set to false. Exiting. Right. File not overwritten. Exit. Nice. So if this is set to false, which it will be by default, so this test will immediately fail. Return -1. Right. So over here in our unit tests, right, we are creating a bunch of options. We are intentionally not setting the value of overwrite. This target file name should already exist on disk. So it should, will overwrite get resolved to opt overwrite is capitalized? Ooh, do you know what? That's a really good question. Let's take a look. We did it there. So we can't easily test it, but we can debug with the test. So let's have a look. Debug that unit test. I'll also move my face out of the way. Again. So we can see all of the console login. Lock that down again and then go over here. Right, so is that going to work? I mean, yes and no. It was mocked, right? So it's not going to. Oh, bother. Okay, you're probably right. You're probably let's do that anyway. As a matter of course, let's make sure these match perfectly. I'm going to move my face out the way again. Maybe I should just hide my face. I don't know. Right, okay. So what we're going to do is Right, so we looked at our test. We said this is the file name we want to use. We're expecting it to fail because I haven't supplied an overwrite. And if I don't supply an overwrite because it is .NET and it's a bool, it should automatically become a false. So what should happen is we should go file already exists. Option overwrite is set to false. So we should return -1. So let's have a look. All of our tests have failed. One or more child test has failed. Can you not? There we go. So we expected 0, we got -1. Fantastic, our test works. So this is create returns error. I don't think I can put -1. Yeah, returns error when file exists and overwrite set to false. Yeah, cool. So then that becomes -1. Amazing. And we have 3 lit up tests. Oh, it's only done. Yep, 2, 3. Fantastic. We've got some lit up tests. Pack it up, everyone. We can go home. Let's go home, boys. Our handle create is only 77% tested because we haven't actually done the what if we can actually overwrite, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this from file to opt.filename. And in here, I'm just going to copy paste this test because there's loads of setup. We'll extract it all out in a minute. That's fine. The name is fine. And then we're going to say overwrite equals true. Nice. I'm going to say 0 returns replace it with success and overwrite set to true. Run those tests. This method should now be 100% tested. Let's move this out the way. Look at that, 100% unit test coverage. Huzzah! Right, but what we actually need to do is remove all of that. Oh gosh. Remove all of that in the file. Cool. Excellent. What might be worth doing is extracting some stuff out. So why don't we say we've got a private read-only. What is the type of that? Right, you're being funny. Yeah, thanks. Okay, what is the type of this? This is a... You're not going to tell me what the type is? What is that type? It is just an iLogger. Okay, cool. That makes sense. I've probably used the wrong type for that, but it doesn't matter. Private read-only, one of them, mocked logger. Excellent. Then we'll create the constructor, and we'll say mocked logger, and we'll leave it like that because it'll be broken, is a substitute for one of them. I've done too many equals and too many semicolons, so that's no good. So that means we can get rid of that. Yeah, I'll start getting build errors, it's fine. Okay, cool. Then we do an underscore there, happy, happy, happy. Underscore there, happy, happy, happy. Cool. Then I'm going to do a private static mock file system. Is it mock file system? Yeah, mock file system. Why are you all being silly? Okay. Generate file system. System. There we go. And we'll make it an arrow function, which just returns that. But we're actually going to take in string file name. Oops. There we go. Cool. And then the mock file system can be just a call to generate file system and pass in target file name. Fantastic. Makes our test a little bit easier to read. Abstracts away some code that is currently being used elsewhere. Fantastic. Nice. get rid of those, use targeted news everywhere in the file, makes it easier to read. Cool. Why don't I just have Ryder figure it out? Nice. Okay. So all we've done, move some stuff around. We're going to do that. And then I'm actually going to look this up because I can never remember the actual formatting for this. There is a C# SDK. They call it SDK project, right? So in SDK project, we do .NET SDK project, hide test project from results. There is actually something you can throw into the is test project. In order to skip, that's not what we want. Hide it in C# tests. So what we can do, there is one thing that we can do. We can throw in I don't want any of that. Okay, so SDK hide from test results. There we go. Do that? No, it's not that. Okay. Customizing code coverage. Here we go. I saw it. Run settings. Don't need that. Don't need simple paths. We don't need module paths. None of that nonsense. It's not nonsense. It all makes sense, but not for ours. We don't need that. What we need. This is for a. We don't want a run settings file. We don't want the exclude from code. So we could actually add the exclude from code coverage attribute to every single thing we want to exclude from code coverage, like all the tests. But there is something we could put into the CS proj. So CS proj. There we go. No, that's not it. I can't even remember what it is. I can't remember. It's like exclude, not that'll be why. That's to exclude them from the test runner. That's not what I want. I can't remember what it's called. Here we go. Conform.tech. There we go. So thank you very much to whomever writes this blog. Let's find out. So Cody Merritt, I'm calling you out and I'm saying thank you very much because you saved me some time here. We just literally add this assembly attribute to our CS proj. So if I go over here and I go CS proj, edit, I can actually go like this. I'll put it in a, it needs to be in an item group, right? Yeah, okay. I like to put things like this in their own item groups, splat. So then if I rerun the tests, it will do its thing. And what's happening now is this line here is telling all of the test runners, hey, ignore everything you find in this CS proj. So if I open this back up again, we're now at 32% test coverage. Because if I collapse all of these down, we now no longer have the test stuff covered, which is brilliant. That's going to save us loads of time, and it's going to save us loads of scratching our heads looking at stuff, wondering why are our tests covered in the test coverage. I feel like perhaps there could be some tooling that does that for you, but I mean this feels like a quick, easy win, right? And it's way better than using the exclude from, because what you can do is you can go up here on the class, you can go exclude from code coverage, ta-da, and it'll exclude that class, but the project will still be included, but we don't want that, so we'll get rid of that. What's wrong with this? It's probably going to say, yeah, method initializers, that's fine, because we just want to, there was no point in having an overloaded default constructor just to set that, so we may as well just set that when we run for now. Cool. I'm happy with what we've created here. So we've gone ahead and we've made it testable. We've moved some stuff out. We've added services. I need to figure out why our logging doesn't work, but that's fine. I will figure that out for next time. And we can get rid of that to do as well. So let's get rid of that. What other to-dos have we got? Have we got a to-do explorer? I feel like we do. To-do explorer. Fantastic. We've got one more to do. Let's have a look. Replace this with the injected logger. Fantastic. Okay, we could do that while we're here. So let's get rid of all of that. Yeah, get rid of that. And we could do it in a control dot. So initialize field. Ta-da! We've handled all of our to-dos as well. Woo! Cool. That's blooming wonderful. We need to rename this. So this needs to be renamed to match its file type. Fantastic. Cool. Right, so what have we done? We've made loads of changes. So let's go check a look in Git. Why am I not logged? Oh, I'm going to pull requests. Ha 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 ha. Right, okay. Oh my goodness, we've done loads of changes. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily hide the chat just so we can see all the changes. So, sorry everyone. Let's just hide you all. Right, just for a second. Haha, now that you're hidden, I can do all sorts of things. Right, so what have we done? Let's start with program.cs. So we've added the abstractions, we've added dependency injection. I've added this space here, but we really don't need it. So why don't we just get rid of that? Yeah, cool. Did that change the actual program.cs? It did. That is clever. Cool. Okay, so we've done that. We've added some logging. We've added services. We'll probably put this in like an extension method or something later on. I don't know. Maybe we can extend upon main. I don't know. We've gone and got the parser out. If we couldn't get the parser, we've added the custom exception. We've then said, hey, simplify this so that then program.cs becomes just about C# stuff. That's brilliant. We don't need Azure yet. Error handler, fantastic. Just a single click will do it. There we go. Right, so single click, we've extracted out to an interface so we can inject it in. We've added some references, we've added syncs, we've added consoles, we've added ASP.NET Core. I'm not sure we need it, but we've added it. We've altered the create stuff. We can actually make that init actually. I won't change it just yet because it'll mean rerunning the tests, but that's fine. And what we've done here in create handler, we've extracted out to an interface. We've started building what we should look for when we create an overwrite. Cool. I'm happy with all of those as they are. So what did I do here? So implemented, oh gosh, basic dependency injection. We also then created, oh no, I've misspelled dependency. Oh, have I? Yes, I have. Dependence. Okay, can you replace it for me? Thank you very much. Created interfaces, oops, for existing handlers. And we've created custom parser class. I'm going to disable me for a minute whilst we do these. Floop. Okay, so we created all of those. We're going to commit all of that. Then we've added some test stuff. So, oh, bother. We added our application exception. Can I amend the previous commit? Excellent. Yeah. Cool. Tests. Oh, we didn't. Oh my goodness, I'm dreadful at this. Let's amend the previous one. That's fine. So what else have we got globally using? So that's XUnit. We've got that and we've got that. Cool. Okay. And this is saying we've got the test class. Yep, cool. Add that, add that. Added test project. Added first. A test project with initial tests. Cool. Commit that. Nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a push, which I think I can do from here. Nope. Okay. Synchronize, refresh, visible, expand all. Really? I can't do a push from here, but I can do it from here. All right. Local push. All right. Nice. Cool. So that's those changes made and pushed up. So if I go back over here, we can see with a refresh. Nope, not a new tab. A refresh. Look at that. Yeah, we've got some new tests. We've got some new stuff. So why don't we go ahead and make sure that we can... Oh no, what have I done here? Oh, that's fine. I just typed whilst we were waiting. Why don't I go ahead and make sure that we can actually run those tests from the terminal. .NET test. Fantastic. We can run the tests from here. This means that we're almost at the point where we can create our first GitHub action, which is awesome. But I think for now, perhaps... Oh, no, we'll start building a model out. We've got time. Yeah, I've got time. I've got time to build a model. So models, whoops. And I will put the chat and my face back on screen. Start with the chat because that's more important. Hello. And then back to me. Right, okay. So what I want to create a project. And the project needs to map to what we're going to eventually write to disk. So a project will have, what did we say? We've wrote it in the docs. So let's go docs, original notes. So we said a project needs, did we write it down? No, we didn't. Okay, so a project will need a project name. Yep, public string. It's non-nullable project name. Get set. I've done set twice, so that's fun. And it's like suppressed with the null. Maybe we'll make it nullable. No, that one's going to be required. Okay, so that's not null. Then we're going to public. We're going to go list of string. And we're going to go files to include. Get set. And it's going to be like, oh, that can't be equals a new list of string. Fantastic. And then we can do that and get rid of targeted news in the entire folder. And then public string target archive name. There we go. So this one can be null. I'm not going to allow this one to be null. Cool. So what we want to do is when we create something new, we don't want to write contents. We want to go project equals new project. Project. Yeah. Cool. And we're going to leave it with defaults. So by default, the project name, no, by default, files to include will be empty. Target archive name will be empty. Project name will not be null. It will be whatever we pass in our create options. Create options. Project name. Yeah, we'll go with options. Yeah, okay. So project name equals options. Excuse me. Not file name. Excellent. Right, it's happy with that. Put that on a single line. This will do for now. We're building things up slowly, right? We're not going to do it all at once. And we're going to do system.text.json. I want to be able to serialize. Chat's in the way. JSON serializer. Right, okay. Let's back up a second. Do it in a separate line. There we go. Okay. So system dot, yep, that's file system. System dot text dot JSON dot serialize. JSON serializer. That's it. We'll do it using the serializer equals a new one of those. Is that how we do it? I feel like that's how we do it. Oh, it doesn't like it. Oh, no, of course. Right, hang on. Dot serialize UTF string. Oh, this writes it out to disk. That's not what we want. Okay, in that case then, we should be able to just go project No, because it wants it as a string. Okay. I'm going to look this up. .NET text.json serialize to string. Cool. Common way to deserialize JSON is to have it create a .NET class. No, that's not what I want. It's because I've spelt it in English, not in American. Deserialize. There we go. Okay. Serialize string. To JSON string. That's not what I want. That's .NET 9. Pocos with aha. Here we go. Right. So this is whomever this is. DevDiz? No. Filey docs? No. Zoom in so we can see because the text is not great. UTF JSON writer. Cool. So this is options. Create some options. Fantastic. And then string is JSON serializer serialize.p with. Alright, so we need some options. Okay. Excuse me. Bar option. Bar. JSON options equals new JSON serialization. Serializer options. Let's see what options we have. Right, let's do this. What have we got? Converters include fields, maximum number of handling, allow trailing commas. We want allow trailing commas equals true. That's nice. Right, what else can we have? Include fields, that's fine. Maximum number handler. Right, indented, absolutely, we want that. And it's human readable at the other end. What else can we do? Maximum depth. Ignore read-only fields. Property case. Oh, property name case insensitive. No, we want it to be case sensitive. So we do false on that. Cool. And then you're telling me that I can do to a string, but JSON serialize to serialize my option. Okay, cool. Var contents equals JSON serializer serialize. We're going to give it the project and the options. Right, it's called JSON options. That's what it's called. Cool. And then we should be able to just dump this in here. Oh, nice. Okay, so let's get rid of the remove that in the whole file. We'll leave it all as one big class for now. I'll have to look up how to init a serializer every time. I have to too, 100%. And I feel like this is something like it's a perfect candidate for like a GitHub Copilot or something. It just makes so much sense, right? It just makes so much sense. Now, so thanks for that, David. So what we're going to have to do here is because where are we? Where is the test file? There we go. Because this mock file system is read-only, we can't actually test. We can run the test and it will be fine, but we can't actually test that the file was created. So for now, for the short term, we have to run this actual all the way through and make sure that it gets dumped on disk, right? So I'm actually going to put a breakpoint here. I'm going to make sure that we've got create file Jamie project JSON, and I'm going to run it with those options. So what we should see is if I move my face out of the way again, whilst it's doing its thing, move me up here. Oh, we fell over. Oh no. I'm just going to get rid of I've got some red lines on my screen. You won't see them, but I've got them. Oh no. Unable to service type serializer.ilogger. Right, okay. That's because I broke the logging everywhere. That's why. It's fine, it's in here. These need to be... Do you know what? Comment them out for now. And it's not going to be nice enough and let me comment it out like that, so I'll comment it out like that. What in the heck? Comment out. Thank you. We're just going to comment out these logging statements and we'll figure out why that doesn't work later on. Right, it wants to comment that one out. So those two. Excellent. Then we'll go to handler tests. Oh, we're not using the mock logger anymore. I know. Comment that out. And then just because it will make it easier for us to comment there, do that first. Same thing here. I'd rather get things working quickly so then we can actually see it, right? So the other thing will be broken is the error wall. So we need to go to the error handler, iLogger. Ah, okay, maybe it should just be an iLogger. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We'll comment that whole thing out. And that. And that. Yeah, maybe it just needs to be an iLogger instead of an iLogger of type. I don't know. Let's run it again, see what's broken. Got a bounce having for a super fun touch-based meeting. Wow. Okay, Devin, have fun, whatever that is. I hope your touch-based meeting goes really well. Right, we've broken the login, that's fine. But we've actually written the file out to disk. So if we go to the files, we come out to here, we go source, .NET-podcast. We've run it with net 6, go debug, net 6. We should have, we've got the log, that's fine. We should have a Jamie project.json. Amazing. Oh, look at that. It's created the file on disk. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. That feels absolutely fantastic. I've got to say. That's going to return 0. That's fine. So we'll write some tests another time to actually test that this actually writes to disk. I feel like that is a, well, what we'll do is we'll mock write all tests rather than using this generated file system. We'll mock that call, and then what we'll do is we'll get that working. Right, let's see if we can set this up properly again. Let's just do this and this, run it. So what we're doing is we're replacing the logger in the error log, which is the second thing added. This will now say, hey, it's not, okay. Serial log iLogger will attempting to handle that. Okay, fair enough. So I've broken the login, and I'm not entirely sure how. Okay, let's undo that one. It might be fine here, but it might be broken in the other one. It might be fine in this one, but broken in the other one. I'll do that and that. Then we'll fix the tests. So we'll just undo the changes to here. Okay, save, build. Try that again. Yeah, okay, so it's the, right, okay, so so the logging is broken in the error handler. Right, so what first thing I need to do here is to replace all of these logging, these calls to the logger. They don't get called, which is a real shame. I'll fix that in a moment. So this needs to be, let's undo that. And undo that, and undo that. So this is logger of type error handler. It's like, oh no, I don't know what that is. Error, whoops. Error handler, and close that. What's the actual problem here? No, tell me the problem. The problem is import that. Okay, yeah, cool. Import it. That's fine. But then nothing works. If you import that, doesn't matter, does it? Right, logger.log, I guess. Nope, that was right. Log error. And then just write log there. But it doesn't actually log it out, which is a real shame, but we'll figure that out later. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm happy with it. It's working, right? So we rerun the tests. We now have some lines in the create handler that are not covered by tests. Sorry, everyone, got an itchy shin. So just got to scratch that. We now have slightly less code coverage in our handler, I think. Handlers. Oh no, it's still 100%. Excellent. Okay, cool. Let's add some more logging and then we'll leave fixing the logging for next time. So get rid of all of these things here. There we go. All of this. So we're going to do that. So we're logger.log information, creating a new project using file name as it is kind of doing my head in that file name of, why doesn't it automatically just dump it on the next line? It feels like that's a thing that should be name of project. There we go. Okay, cool. And then log information, creating serializing project to string. Cool. This one is definitely a verbose, but I'm going to do everything as logger information for now, and then I can go back and fix them. Project serialized as project contents, and then content. Written project out to cool. So we've just added some extra login there. I'm going to run all the tests. There's still only 2 tests, but realistically there's 6, because what it does, the reason it's taking a time is it needs to start the test with .NET 6, collect the results, stop, start it with .NET 7, collect results, stop, start with .NET 8, collect results, stop. And like I said, the reason that I'm doing that is because I would like I would like to be able to nope. There we go, global, there we go, fantastic. Why didn't that work? Why hasn't it pulled those in? That's weird. Oh, I've put it in the wrong place. There we go. Which means I can get rid of those. Let's move these. I will finish that sentence in a moment, folks. Right. There we go. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And that means I can get rid of all of those usings, make that simpler. And then if I want to, I'll create a global usings there, but that's fine. Do that. What's interesting about the global usings is they can be folder based. So it makes no sense, but I can go add a file global usings.cs. Right, don't add it to source control, and I can actually go global like that and actually get rid of this one. And then that is being used by everything inside of here. Kind of doesn't make sense, so I'm not going to do that. For this file, but for the handlers perhaps. Project, no, that's fine. For handlers, yeah, these are all going to have global usings.cs. Don't add, that's fine. These are all going to have the same using statement, so I may as well like that. And then here, the create handler, I may as well grab them and put them in here as well. Fantastic. That means I can get rid of all the using statements across all of these files. No, man, I just found out I can do a extract to global usings. Okay, cool. Let's do that instead. Definitely do whatever change I just made there. Get rid of that. Extract those back out. Cool. So we've got Microsoft extensions and command line. So that definitely needs to go into a global usings. Cool. Don't add that. Is there anything else that's common across the two of them? Nothing. All right. But there will be as I add more handlers. Where the heck did that? No, global is things in there. That's a really useful comment. Thanks. I suppose for people who don't know what it is, but that's fine. Cool. And that's the thing I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start moving some usings that make sense out to the global spaces. Those make sense because they're only used in this file. Cool. I think we're done. So let's have a look at all of these files. Right. Create handler. So that adds... Okay, so I'm going to go like this and like this. That's the tests for it. That's the error handler. That's the global usings in where? In tests. Okay, cool. So added support for writing project to project Poco to disk in create handler. Nice. Hander. Did it again. Do you know what? Yeah, let's reference the file. I don't know. Right, cool. And then global usings is in where? Oh, that needs to be amended in that one. Otherwise it ain't gonna build. Ain't gonna build no more, no more. It ain't gonna build no more. Right, okay. Global usings there. Cool. Added tests for create handler methods. That will do. Commit push. All right, push that stuff. And we are out. Amazing. Okay, so in the last 2 hours, I've talked about chill hop music. I've talked about adding some tests and some stuff in there. We've gone ahead and abstracted some stuff away. We've used the Firefly docs for .NET SDK. I don't know what that's all about, but we've used that to fix something. We have relied upon Cody. If we go home, we can see whose blog this is. We've relied upon Cody Merritt. Let's have a look. Cody Merritt Anhorn. So thank you very much, Cody. You are amazing. I'm not sure what uses does, but there you go. Yeah, we've used this person's blog to help us figure out how to exclude a certain thing. We can actually include it in the build system props, but I didn't want to. If we end up with more than one test project, we can use this again to actually add, first off, some common project references, but also to tell it not to include certain, to include in our testing stuff. We've added the testable system.io abstractions, which means that we can now mock our file system a little bit easier. We're using the command line and we've pushed it all up to source control. I like this. We're starting to take some shape here. We're only just under 2 hours, just under 4 hours in, and we're doing really well. We're making some progress. We're doing it in an enterprisey way. That's totally fine. But what we're actually going to do next time is we're going to fix those logs so they actually log out during those in the handlers, because they're currently not logging. And then what we're actually going to do, let's do this one change while we're here. I keep doing, what was he called? Let me just ask you one last question, right? We actually are going to move this logging thing out to here, right? I'm going to do this and it's not going to like it. That's fine. And I'm actually going to move my face because my face is in the way again. I'm always in the way. Always in the way. Move me all the way down here, right? And then lock it down. Fantastic. Yep, absolutely. Brilliant. Right. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to move this try catch. Yeah, I know you don't like it. We're going to put it here. So everything is logged. Everything. So what that looks like, if I get rid of my face real quick. Let me just get rid of my face. So the program.cs now reads, set up my login, and then wrap everything in a gigantic try catch now that we have logging. I'm going to get rid of that extra line there. That way, if there's a problem with services, we'll catch it in our exception and say something went wrong. So everything will get logged. I'm just going to, on my view, my mouse pointer is in the way. So I'm going to put my face back. There I am. See? Right. Okay. So then in custom parser, we're just going to add a logger for this. Private read only iLogger for custom parser logger, and then we're going to go like this. Cool. Now that means that that's injected in for us. Fantastic. And we're going to say logger dot log information. I've lost the dot there. Fantastic. What's the problem here? You were happy with it previously. No, it's not a nullable object. What? Can cause a runtime exception on a write operation. We're not writing, we're reading. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Can I suppress that one? Doesn't matter. I tell you, later on we'll add guard clauses and we'll guard against null, but that's fine. Cool. So last change I've made is moved logging specifically. Move logging, which is specific to parsing args out to the args parser. Yeah. Amazing. I've put args parse. Args parse. Sounds like some kind of breakfast cereal from the 80s or something, doesn't it? Let's move me back up here so you can see what I'm doing. Cool. I am happy with all of these changes, so let's commit and push. And that's our stream done. Just over 2 hours. We've done some stuff. We're getting it. The plan is to get this to the point where a project file is written to disk and it references some files, and then we can zip that up so that then that's ready. Once that's done, we're then going to look at preparing. So that is looking at the audio files in a folder and compressing those with some kind of convert them to FLAC and do certain particular operations on them, and then we'll see where we go from there. So we'll add loads more tests along the way because we're currently only 30-odd%, but I'm happy with 30-odd%. We'll also fix things like this, right? But that's fine. We'll fix that later. That's something we can fix at another time. And everything will be done on stream. So if you want to watch more of this, if you want to just read the source code, you can head on over to my GitHub, which is jbtaylor-rjj, and head over to the .NET-podcast repo. And what we'll do is next time we'll maybe start setting up an action, so that then as soon as code is pull requested in, we start getting some stuff where stuff actually is built automatically for us. How cool is that? And then once we've got like a logo and stuff, we'll get it up onto NuGet and people can start using it and start complaining about how terrible it is because it's me that's written it. But there you go. With that all being said, I'm going to wish you all a wonderful rest of whatever the day is for you. So, yeah. I hope you've learned something. I hope that it's not been useless for you. I hope that something in this last 2 hours has been pretty good. If you do have time, go check in on yourself and make sure that you're okay. Remember, it's okay to be kind to yourself, and remember that it is okay to talk to someone if you need to talk to someone. I'm going to start putting these messages, peppering these messages throughout the episode, these streams as I go along. But I think it's super important that if you need the time to talk to someone, you find the time to talk to someone. And if you want to reach out, I'm around. So you want to reach out to talk to me instead of talking to a professional, maybe you should talk to someone more professional than I, but I'm here if you want to talk. With that being said, folks, I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.